Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at Revospin Live. We'll be starting in a few moments here. We're just going to wait to see if anyone else is going to be joining us. And today we're going to be talking about how to overcome objections just come with the territory. So today we're going to be talking about how to overcome those objections and how to handle a few of them. So hopefully we can put more money in your pocket. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up here. What we're going to be talking about, of course, here is overcoming objections. Once again, if you are joining us on the East Coast, good evening. If you like what you're hearing and you want to continue to see these here, make sure you comment and like on the Facebook page, the post. So what are objections? Okay, so objections normally come when you are pitching your business, and they can come in all various types of forms. So we're going to talk about the three most common objections that you'll get when you're selling your business. When you are pitching your ideas and your business to people, often the first things that you will hear are their objections here. So let's go over first of all, the top three, okay? So the top three objections that they find are being told often are cost, you're too expensive. Number two would be someone else is doing it better. Possibly it's someone they've used before, maybe someone that's been referred to them. And number three has to do with the equipment you have, possibly that the equipment you have is just not going to work for their needs. And so we're going to talk about that. So the first thing here is do not argue with the objections. One of the natural things to do is when you hear those objections is to try to fight them. And a lot of times people lose sight of what it is that you're trying to sell them and the value that you can create for them. And they actually it starts to become a little bit of an argumentative thing to where who's right, who's wrong. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who's right or wrong on those objections. It's that money is coming into your pocket. So let's talk about the first one here. And that is how to overcome cost. A lot of times the best thing to do is to talk more about value, talk more about the event they're having and what it means to them and how much more value it would mean to them to have memories and to create an experience for guests, people talking about your event. So that's a very important thing to do, is try to get the topic off of cost and actually start talking more about value. A common question used in sales is ask them, if you're charging, for example, $300 to $500 an hour, ask them, well, if it was $200 an hour or $150 an hour, would you hire me? You want to get that objection out of the way as soon as possible. And so by you actually playing that game and lowering your own cost down and asking them if that is something that's going to help book you, then a lot of times you can then determine that whether it's kind of just a smoke screen and they're just kind of mentioning cost, or if it really is an issue. Because if you do tell them, what if I gave it to you for this price, then you know that you've actually created some value there. If at that point, when you're lowering your cost in a hypothetical situation, and they're still not budging, then there's something else. That means there's something else there that there's a reason why they're not hiring you. And just, and if it is something to where they just can't afford you, that's part of business. Hold your ground and know your worth, So the next one here is talking about maybe competition. That's where knowing the competition is really important, and also knowing what you can do differently. So a lot of times, you can talk to them about it. What is it that you found? Have a conversation about that. What is it that you found about that other business that maybe suits your needs better? And then start mentioning some different things that you can do. A lot of times you need to open up their minds as far as to explore why it is that you are different and that you have more value for them. The next one is equipment. So if you're talking about equipment, talk about, obviously, if you're here in this group, you're using some of the best equipment with Revospin. So talk about all the money you invested the overlays and the software and all the different things that you provide. Hopefully you caught our live stream last week and we talked about props. That's why it's important. The more that you can kind of put into your trunk of assets as far as anything to help promote your business and set you apart, the more value you're going to be able to create, and the more you'll be able to overcome those objections. Okay, so just remember that not everybody is your customer. Okay, so when you're out there and you are talking about your business, talking about the value you can create, your services, then just realize that you have a customer base, and not everybody is in that customer base. Okay. You are not for everyone. Okay. But, okay. That's where, you have to be able to define your customer as well. Okay. So make sure that, you can actually tell them, like, tell someone to their face that I'm just not for you. Okay. That's where you'll be able to talk about things like, maybe bring back testimonials, talk about other people. A lot of times people want to keep up with the Joneses, they say. So make sure you are able to tell stories, make sure you're able to define who your customer is, and make them chase after you by talking about why actually they are your customer. If you tell sometimes people, you know what, you're just not my customer, they're actually going to fight harder sometimes to be your customer. So a little tidbit there. All right. And then let me go ahead and share my screen here. So this is if you look here, we've got the kickasscreator.com, contentcreator.com, but what's the number one reason businesses struggle is they fail to overcome objections, okay? So number one, of course, we talked about is the budget, okay? Put the price in perspective, talk about the value, talk about what people are actually coming away with. Focus on value, not price. Money back guarantee, well, that doesn't really apply to our services because you've provided a service. How do I know it works? Well, testimonials. Focus on the features of what you do differently. Talk about that more. The more you can talk about that. Work with social influencers. You can find out maybe some influencers in your local town and maybe get them to work with you on your business and promote you. And keep your promises as far as what you promised them. Also, you can talk about success stories. This is now on to number 3, making your case with numbers, for example, telling them how much revenue you bring in. Once again, we know that certain companies out there, some big brands out there, are synonymous with people spending a lot of money. And when people go into, like, for example, a Gucci store or Mercedes-Benz dealership, they know they're going to spend some money, and that not a shocker to most people because those brands have built that up. Okay. Before you head into any type of a meeting, whether it be on the phone, over social media and everything, make sure you prepare what you're going to be talking about. So a little bit of preparing helps a lot when you before you get to those objections, because you've pretty much said your pitch. Also, state your accomplishments. Constantly talk about how many people you've made happy. Videos. Have lots of social media in your phone. Have a folder of people's testimonials and how satisfied they are with your services. And then if someone does talk about maybe a service they use, someone that they used before, know what your competitor can offer and know how you can differentiate from that. Okay, so just a little bit of practice on here. We'll go ahead and go back to the single screen here. And there is one thing I will bring up here. Some objections are not real objections. They're smoke screens. Sometimes people will say some objections that sound like real objections, and in reality, they're just smoke screens for something else. Whether it may be cost, maybe it might be they need to get someone else's approval. But those are all different things that you have to sometimes peel away, just like an orange, basically peel away everything to find out what's really their reason for not wanting to hire you. Anyway, stay with it. Thank you for joining us. And tomorrow we'll be back at 3:30. If you ever have any ideas on what you'd like to see more of with these live streams, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. And thank you for joining us. Good evening and good afternoon. Bye-bye.